You hate your child if you want them to become a doctor or a lawyer. Yeah. What is that winning team? And yeah, I'm not about to take my foot off the gas here because I have a point to make. You hate your child if you want them to become a doctor or a lawyer. Now, we're talking about this today because a lot of people see these as like one of the two best possible jobs you could come out with. And you're so smart, smarty, smart, 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 right? And a lot of people who do well at school, this is what they go on to do. And I'm going to explain to you why I think this. Before I get into this, yeah, I'm going to say this. Obviously, hi, I'm a black shock, and I am of African descent. Oh my gosh, yes, I am. That does not, however, mean that my parents grew up telling me and beating me and telling me I need to become a doctor or lawyer. They actually didn't. So before anybody thinks this is another episode of me sharing my childhood trauma, no, it's not actually. It's an observation I've made as an educator and as somebody who is in the community and has seen it happen to others around me, and also just from my experience of what I know about doctors and lawyers and the realities, the actual lives of being doctors and actual lawyers. Let's actually start with that. You mean to tell me, as a parent, yeah, you want your child, happiness for your child looks like working at least 12 hours a day, probably 6 days a week. Given that we're all supposed to have 7 to 8 hours of sleep a night, yeah? So they're going to have, 4 or 5 hours left in 24 hours to do what? Because let's say they spend half an hour. We'll be nice here. Let's say they spend half an hour to get to work and half an hour to get back. So that's another hour. So now we're looking at 3-4 hours. So now every single day, they're supposed to have 3-4 hours to themselves, but then they've got to wake up as well and have breakfast and whatnot and whatever and get dressed and whatever. And then when they come home, they've got to make dinner and do whatever and probably some kind of a chore. So let's just be generous again and add in another hour. So we're at 2-3 hours. So 2-3 hours of their entire day they have to themselves. And for what? I'm thinking now, doctors, because lawyers can do even longer. What kind of family do you expect to have? Because it'll be the same parents saying this stuff. Like, oh, where's the grandkids? Where's the grandkids? At the childminders, because their parents are working 12 hours a day. So you now want them to have kids as well on top of that. Just for them to spend all that extra money that they make just to pay a childminder because they're not physically there. Let me tell you when I started to think about this year, guys. When I was in year 9, so I was 13. And at this point, for some reason, a lot of reasons, I was no longer thinking of going into the performing arts. And I was like, hey, I'm going to become a doctor. Actually, I know why. Excuse me, I'd watched too much Grey's Anatomy. I was like, I want to become a surgeon. I wanted to become what was it? Not a neurosurgeon. I never wanted to be a neurosurgeon. I don't even remember. Wow, that's crazy. Anyway, so I really went down I really know, like this is what I'm saying, guys. I already know what it takes to actually do this particular thing because I wanted to do it and I planned to do it for a while. I had looked into the educational pathways of how to get into it from that point because I was like, okay, I don't know why I always was just this kind of person, but even at 13, I was like, okay, so what do I need to get in my GCSEs? And then what do I need to get my A-level? Then what degree do I need to do? And then whatever. So I started doing all the calculations of it all, right? And then also just when I would actually officially become a doctor. And I was like, what? I'm going to be like 35 when I'm officially like a doctor or whatever. And then on top of that, okay, 35 is a bit of a stretch, I think. I can't really, well, because you finish A-levels at 18. Med school's usually actually that's not completely inaccurate, into my 30s, right? So it's like, so I'm already into my 30s now when I officially qualify, and this is just me as like in the early stages at the lowest level, right? And then for me to like build myself up to the highest level, I'm going to be more into my 40s, 50s, 60s. At what point am I even going to have a family? And that was the reason why I decided not to become a doctor, because I just thought, how could I have a family and be a doctor at the same time? Like, I'm just going to have because this is another thing I don't get yet. What's the point of having kids if they're just always going to be being looked after by somebody else all the time? Like, I don't get that. And I'm not talking about school. School, I can kind of understand. You know what I mean? I'm talking about like, you work from like 7 a.m. until like, you work from like, I don't know, 7 a.m. until, I don't know, 9 p.m. It's like, and 7 days a week, 6 days a week. It's like, what was the point in having them if you're never with them and you're paying for somebody else to look after them? And anyways, Who wants to trust somebody else to look after the kids? And anyways, are you planning to be there to babysit, or are you planning for them to use that extra money? Because you see, the thing is about all of this, it feels like it's more just about you wanting to feel like you did a good job as a parent and feel good. It feels like it's more about you. That's what I'm saying. It feels like it's more about you and your own, like, I did well. I made sure my child got them a good job. And it was because I made sure me, my, I. But you're not really thinking about the quality of their life, are you? Not to mention the fact here, like I said, as a doctor, so I looked into all of this and whatever, it's quite difficult. All they really do is regurgitate. They just taught a bunch of information. Like, people who become doctors, yeah. So I really always knew I didn't really respect them, and now I really know they don't. They're just like the best followers. They're the ones who at school, they just good at reciting and repeating information. They're just parrots. Even Eddie Hall was talking about this. Is like, school teaches you to be sheep. They're the best sheep of all. So we're like, they're the best sheep of all. They just know how to repeat what's been told to them and then do it again and then do it again and then do it again. Like, I don't think I could have ever lasted in med school, because I would want to know the origins of every single thing I'm being told. What do you mean this symptom equals this? Why? How do you know? What is it? What is it at a molecular level? I think this is why I had to study chemistry. I think it was destiny. I was going to end up studying chemistry in a way. So there's that, right? And so, yeah, and then their best prospects are in, more questionable areas like, cosmetic surgery and stuff like that, where it's like, do you want them to be doing that stuff? Maybe. I mean, of course, cosmetic surgery and plastic surgery started mainly because of the need for constructive surgery, didn't it? Like, when people had been maybe in an accident or something had happened to them, like even the rhinoplasty, the reason why people even start to realize is like, oh, you get a rhino, you break your nose, you can kind of reshape it into whatever. And so then people started to reshape their nose into whatever afterwards. And then now people actually go and get their nose broken on purpose to get a rhinoplasty as part of cosmetic surgery. So again, there's some moral, ethical areas to deal with that. But then going over to the lawyer aspect, which again, long hours, long days. What kind of relationship are they going to have? Like, because you see me, if I want my child to be happy, I want them to be able to spend time with their loved ones. I want them to be able to do fun things, have money to spend, whatever. I want them to live life, like live life. I'm like, you must hate your child, like actually, to encourage them to become a doctor or a lawyer. On the subject of ethics, let's talk about law, right? If you're going to become a lawyer, right? Well, let's look at that. Again, very long path to get to actually becoming an official lawyer, very pretentious area. One of these types of careers similar to a doctor, where you got to earn your right to this and you got to earn this, you got to earn that. Long hours, this and that. Where's the money in law again, really? Well, who's really making the most money in law right now, guys? Let's think about it. Which lawyers? The lawyers are the rich and famous and the powerful and the billionaires and the Epsteins and the Diddies and the governments. Because you're now also sending them in to be part of the bigger problem. Because if you're now working in these fields, right, especially in this climate, what are you going to do? It would make sense if I was a lawyer, rather than work, for my local police department. My local police department as a what do you call it? What do they call it? The assigned lawyers that people get when they go to prison on that's on the government. They could work as that, but then those people, I feel like whenever I see them, they remind me of myself as a teacher, where it's like, you're doing a job that's a good job. You could do a lot better with a lot more resources and a lot better pay. But unfortunately for you, you're not in that situation, because you're like working for the government. So where you should go? Go and work for the other side, mate. Go work over there. They've got money to spend. Hey, just for giving them a good case, they're going to send you a private jet just to say thanks for helping me beat my case. So again, you're sending them into a situation where financially, if they really want to get rich, they should go for the unethical options. And again, quality of life, like I said before, what's the quality of life? They're going to qualify late in life. Because that's the other thing I'm thinking here. People say you should enjoy your youth, but then people also say to you to do all of this stuff to figure everything out so fast. And it's like, bro, why would I want to waste literally my entire 20s studying? This is when I'm young and my body can do stuff, and I want to do stuff. I want to go and explore, and I wish I did more of that. I wish I hadn't been so responsible. You know what I mean? I was having a conversation with my youngest brother was 16, and I told him, I said, listen, the biggest mistake I made at your age was trying to be so responsible, and I thought I was doing a good thing, and I regret it now. So if I were you, enjoy all these years that you have, and actually enjoy them. Do stuff with your friends, go and have fun, go and meet up, hang out together, play games, go out for meals, make memories, like enjoy yourself. Don't overthink like being overly responsible, like, you know, like whatever. Why would you want that for your kid? Because I'm like, what's the goal here? That's what I'm trying to say. What is actually are we trying to achieve? Because are you actually trying? Because what use, anyways? Like, let's say it's the money thing. What use is the money if they never have the time to use the money? They don't even have the time. But then maybe that's what it really is. You're hoping. Because this is another problem I have, is the immigrant parent thing of like, oh, you know, and people have all this pressure. You know, like sometimes I just wonder why people are actually even having kids. I think people are just having them and then working things out afterwards, which, like I've said before, I can understand that with just one, because you didn't know what you were getting yourself into. Nobody did, right? When you're like 5, 6 down the line, right? And then people move to another country and they're like, oh, we took you here for a better life. I feel so bad for those kids, by the way, because those kids grow up with so much pressure to be successful, because now they have to like prove to their parents that it was worth their parents moving. So now they have all the weight of the world on their shoulders to succeed, and everything's about making them parents feel good, and about, you know, it's like, you know what, maybe just don't have kids. Like, this is what I'm like, I'm not going to have them. Respectfully speaking, I'm really not going to have kids, because if everything about having kids is putting all this weight and pressure onto their shoulders for all this stuff to do, you know, especially when the Bible says that, you know, a good man sets up an inheritance for his children's children. So the Bible says, I understand having kids and teaching them life skills when you've actually, and encouraging them in a way when they set up in an environment where they're doing it because you're trying to help them become the best version of themselves, not out of necessity. That's where my problem is. If you're of course you want to teach them to be independent and everything, and of course you want them to get on a career path. But if you're doing that because you need their help, that's a problem. That's a problem for me. It's like when people say, oh yeah, have 10 kids, have 10 kids. Oh, how can you have 10 kids? Oh, no, it's fine, it's good, because when you have like 10 kids, by like the fifth one, the older ones can help you. When did they ask to do that? When did they ask to do that? When did they ask? And now they're expected. And now if they don't, then what? They're the problem. Exactly. It's like a lot of selfishness. Like I low-key, like you guys know I've been talking a lot about having kids. And that's because, actually, there's this very specific reason to do with me this particular year and me and God and having a baby. Anyway, but more so because I'm always working around them. People are always talking to me about them. Like, every single time I'm talking to some man is talking to me, it's all about, oh yeah, we should have kids together. We can have kids. I work around kids all the time. You know what I mean? And also because I've been genuinely wanting to get my tubes tied, which unfortunately I don't think is going to happen, because it seems like I'll have to go on I'm going to have some kind of severe hormonal shifting, which I can't lie, I am enjoying my current hormonal balance. Like, I'm not on any medication, I'm not taking any hormones. And I feel like everything in my body feels right. So I don't want to dibble dabble. I don't want to then go and start having to take any things or have any fluctuations, because apparently then my amount of estrogen is going to change and all this. So, oh gosh, I just have to risk it all. But like, I really genuinely believe, like, I've been thinking about it, I literally can't find one reason to have a child that isn't selfish. Like, literally. I cannot think of one reason to have a child that is not selfish, unless genuinely you have created an environment where you want to just really be able to push forward the hard work you've already done and create that environment. Like David in the Bible, right? When he had Solomon superseded David, because David was like, look, bruh, I was supposed to build the temple, I was supposed to do this, but I couldn't because I was born in a time of war, and I was just at war the whole time. However, I've taught you like how I am in the way I am. I've got all the stuff you need. Here's all the gold you're going to need to build the temple. Here's the blueprint for the temple. All you got to do is do the work, right? And everything that's David invested in Solomon became the wealthiest and the wisest in all the land. That's how it's supposed to go. That's my thing. It's like you're supposed to get better, and things are supposed to get better along the way, not like this whole weird loop of just like destruction that's happening a lot of the time. You know, because when people talk about their reasons for having kids, people say, "Oh, we don't have kids. Oh, who's gonna look after you when you're older? Look after yourself. Look after yourself. Like, my friend in Italy, her mum's in her 90s. I keep quoting her, yeah? Her mum's in her 90s, yeah? She had saved, her and her husband worked so long enough, and her husband died a very long time ago. She paid for her own, where she stays now, she stays in a very nice, flashy old people's home in California, right? She paid for that for herself. She paid for that for herself. She has so much, she had set herself up well enough, so much so that she still has money to leave to her daughter afterwards. Her daughter in her 50s, her daughter never had to actually do anything in that direction. She's looked after. Of course, she still goes and she still looks after her, and her mum was staying at her house for a while, so she could actually be there and stuff like that. But that was out of, again, choice and out of love, and not out of some necessity because we just had kids and then expected them. Like, there's something, there's just so much selfish about deciding to be a parent, in my opinion. That's why I don't really want to do it, because I'm trying to think, I can't think of a single reason that really, in my opinion, puts them, is really for them. I can't think of one. The only thing I can think of, the Bible saying, be fruitful and multiply. But the idea is being fruitful. So having a kid is one thing, but the fruit is in that I'm setting themselves up for better. Like, I'm having them because it's like, well, I'm going to die, but hey, you take this to the next level. I'm not going to be able to be here to take this to the next level, but you take this to the next level, right? Not, well, let's just hope and pray. Like, because that's what I feel like it is. Or just try this and just live the bare minimum and just accept the bare minimum and just be grateful. You should be grateful for being alive. You should be grateful I let your father ejaculate inside me. You should be so grateful. You should be so grateful I ejaculated inside your mother. That's what you should be grateful for. You should be grateful for that. No. Anywho, because that's why with God, I'm like, God, okay, cool, God. Okay, when I'm the child of God, I'm cool with that, because God's like, look at this place. Look at this place. Anything is possible. Anything you want to do, you can do it. Anything is here. Life is for the winning, is for the taking. And I'm like, okay, this is fun. I'm like, God, this is why me and God talk and we pray. It's fun, because I'm like, honestly, I can do whatever I want with God, right? It makes it fun. It makes it fun to actually be here, because I'm like, I can do anything. And that's when I actually start to feel like, oh, life is worth living, because I'm not the one who's going to try and just do I'm just going to just, because everybody else is, right? Because that's what everyone does. They're like, oh, well, you should be grateful because you should be. I'm not saying don't be ungrateful, guys. I'm just saying, like, let's be so freaking for real. What's the real motive here? Is the motive actually that you genuinely care and you genuinely love, or is it just that you're like, oh, now I need it, now I have an obligation? Because I've even heard people say, because I got into this, I've been on the side of TikTok. Yeah, on TikTok, unfortunately, I don't go on there very often, but when I do, unfortunately, my For You page has all about people talking about the reasons why they don't want to have kids. Yeah. And it's one of those where, you know how the algorithms are so aggressive that you come across something once, because I hadn't even searched it. It just came up once, and then I watched the video, and then it sent me another video. And then next thing you know, you guys all know how it goes. And I was reading the comments of the people who were like, have kids, and they were just like, well, having kids gave me meaning. I'm like, that sounds selfish. You needed a reason to live. And this is why one of the reasons I don't want to have kids is because right now, if I wanted to actually take my life, I can. Because there's nobody that I'm responsible for. A lot of people are just living because they have people who they're scared to lose, who they don't want to lose them. I don't want to have that as a reason. I don't want to be enchained by that. That to me sounds like a chain, right? So that's one of the other reasons where I know the moment I do that is the moment I have to give up the idea that I could ever take my own life. And I like the freedom. I don't want to do it. I'm not going to do it. But I like the idea that if I wanted to, I'm not being held back by the idea of like, oh, but I have these kids. People are like, oh, they gave me a reason to live. Like, why didn't you have one already? I have a reason to live now with God. You know what I'm saying? It seems like it's all wrong. It's all wrong. You should have, your reason to live should be outside of that. Everything should be outside of that. You know what I mean? Like, I love God. I could say my kids, I love them with all my heart and whatever, but I would never put the pressure on their shoulders of, you're my reason to live. Excuse me? So then it's like, oh, well, I better perform now so that you feel like your reason to live and all your hard work was worth it. It's the same way I feel like when parents are like, parenting is a thankless job. Like, yeah, of course it is, because they're freaking children, mate. Sorry that your 9-year-old doesn't understand all the things that you do to look after them. And also, by the way, what are you asking thanks for? Thank you for engaging in sexual intercourse with another human being, and now I'm here. Like, thank you for not pulling out. Like, thank you for not using a condom. Like, thank you for not being on contraceptive. Thank you for opening your legs. You know what I mean? Like, what are you thanks for? Like, genuinely, this is what I'm saying. Like, I can't stand this world. And I'm not saying you shouldn't say thank you. I'm saying anybody, and you see it happen all the time. When you just do what you do, people are gonna thank you anyway. At the other side, if you just do when you do, but look, I am always been one to thank, somebody for everything that they did. But but you doing it in the hopes of thanks, that seems like you're the one with the wrong motives here. Do you see what I'm saying? It seems like a selfish thing. Anyway, I'm gonna go. I need a little break before I finish the next batch of videos. Yeah, because I know where we're going next. But anyways, guys, yeah, if lives are game, let's play to win. God bless you all. God loves you. I love you. And I'll see you in my next one.